StarCraft 2 esports history could be roughly divided into several periods, each with a unique state of the balance, as well as meta strategies and dominant players. Some of them were characterized by a dominance of one race, as it was with Zerg in 2012, and others were showcased as periods of nearly equal win rates for all three races. But for viewers, 2013 was one of the best years in the history of StarCraft 2. A new expansion was just introduced, and the best Korean players from Brood War were slowly transitioning to the sequel. And as for the balance, it was in a wild state with players trying new tactics and builds, a perfect storm for creativity and experiments. Around 2012, a new player appears on the scene. StarDust from South Korea, playing as Protoss, makes his debut in the 2011-2012 Pro League. He was serving in the military around this time, and thus he played for Air Force Ace, a South Korean team consisting of army men. In his first match against Roro, he demonstrated a rare playstyle with mass target units, which caught off guard his experienced opponent. However, after being discharged from the army, StarDust disappears from the radar and he's only rarely seen on big tournaments. Occasionally playing on weekly cups, StarDust made no achievements during the next months, but he built up quite a good skill level, which allowed him to easily go through ESET Winter Masters 2012. Despite this victory, he was still a relatively unknown player with no expectations put on his shoulders. Arriving in DreamHack Summer 2013, he had to start from the first group stage and prove himself capable of going toe-to-toe with the greatest players of StarCraft 2 in the world. Although the first three group stages went smoothly for our hero, he managed to avoid really strong competitors. In the first round of playoffs, he faced Violet. His opponent was a legendary player who cemented his reputation of a fearsome Zerg with his second-place finishes at Nassau and IPL, tournaments that historically were incredibly hard to conquer. StarDust was a dark horse, which could work well for him as nobody knew what to expect from this Protoss. And the cool thing about 2013 meta was its diversity in strategies and playstyles, especially for Protoss players. While you could try to win in a long, exhaustive macro game with multiple fights, you could also try to go for one single blow with a really strong timing, and there were plenty of those two-base intricate tactics that could easily surprise anyone. This was a way to go for StarDust. He opened this series with an unorthodox Stargate all-in featuring both Void Rays as well as ground units, Zealots and Stalkers, to pressure his opponent. While it sounds weak on paper, StarDust managed to thrive in the chaos and puzzle Violet during the first map.
Fourth Void Ray is about to join into this group, but here comes the Swarm. They're trying to get in, but great force fields.
Lovely force fields.
Amazing.
And the Lings get separated from most of the Roaches and the Queens there. The Void Rays able to do a decent amount of damage as well. Trying to coax the Void Rays over the force field so that the Queens can get some shots off. That was a good engagement for StarDust, but this isn't over yet. 120 to 130 supply. The Roaches continuing to get hit. Still no Hydralisk Den, but he has got 6 Queens now with this composition. Will it be enough to face the Void Rays? Though more and more are coming out.
Well, this Max Queen strategy is quite nice, but unfortunately, these Void Rays just deal so much DPS, especially with Prismatic Alignment against the Roaches, that it can be really problematic trying to deal with them, and the Force Filters is still so on the money here for StarDust.
Violet now, StarDust just about taking the supply for the first time in this game. It's still very, very close at the moment during these engagements. The Queens are now backing away. Bear in mind, these larvae can still be used at the third base to reinforce the army, so he needs to be careful that Violet doesn't go for some sort of sandwich movement here. Decent force field, zoning out some of those Roaches, and StarDust trying to deal with this army as separately as possible, and Violet is dropping below 100 supply.
And this is the point, once you start getting this critical mass of gateway units and the Void Rays as well, it gets increasingly difficult to try and hold. Violet is now pulling his drones, which is never a good sign. Force fields are being utilized, creating a nice little tight choke there. 2 Void Rays still up, the Queen's transfusing like mad, but the Stalker count is just ridiculous.
It is indeed, and there are still 2 Void Rays up. I think the Queens have done a great job neutralizing the Void Rays, but now the ground army is definitely in StarDust's favor. 104 supply to 59, and he might have done it here. He takes game number 1. It's about the concave here, and here we go, and it looks like, some great force fields over on the left. This is exactly what StarDust needed, actually.
Oh, look at that force field, he's done so much.
Fantastic time warp as well. And now StarDust is doing a lot of damage.
The Immortals aren't fighting.
Army.
Okay, now they go. That's good. Okay, the Immortals have got to get into
I think this is good for StarDust. Those force fields may have done it there. Great concave form. Taking out the rocks was the correct decision. And StarDust now pushing Violet back. Violet's at 87 supply and dropping. He is facing elimination from DreamHack right now as My Insanity StarDust is looking to book his place in the round of 8.
He has got down that third. A big speeding counterattack is going to be coming down. There is not enough Mothership Core over. Mass recall to the main, and this is one. It's that simple. There's no production remaining for Violet.
GG goes down anyway. No production remaining, and StarDust, ladies and gentlemen, completes the victory over one of the fan favorite players in this tournament to go into the round of 8.
It was sure as hell a big upset, as nobody expected Wiley to go down that way. However, for StarDust, things would only get harder, as now he had to play against Hyun, arguably top 3 Zerg players in the world in 2013. What also made Hyun different from other players, he had a great killer instinct coupled with an unmatched ability to survive and thrive in the toughest in-game circumstances. And these games look like this.
This is a nice little timing he's hitting here, but does he have enough units? Remember, there's quite a ton of Hydras, 16 in total, a ton of force fields.
And we do have a couple, or at least the first couple of Vipers making their way. Now, force fields are going to split off a lot of these units. The Hydralisks have that range upgrade. They can shoot quite far beyond those force fields. He's actually going to chew away quite significantly at these Zealots. But like you said, this is a very powerful push. Yeah. StarDust, though, needs to step back, warping a couple more of these Zealots. The Time Warps are going to drop. He wants to commit here, catching the Hydralisks of Hyun. He's going to be able to chew through those. The supply getting closer and closer, Apollo. Enduring Locust is done, but there are no Swarmos on the field. 10 Hydras and 10 Roaches. Will this be enough to stop StarDust's push?
This is incredible timing here, and more Zealots are being walked in. He's got a lot of force fields to actually trap units here. He may be able to just pick up the win straight away. Vipers are coming there, completely useless. 4 Hydras on the left-hand side, going to be cut off. Force fields now need to cut around these Hydras on the right-hand side. Perfect force fields here.
And StarDust is just completely destroying everything that Hyun has. And we do see Abduct trying to pull the Immortal across the force field so he can kill it a bit more effectively. But with the DPS of his army being so low, having so much of it chewed away, losing the drones with this natural expansion, the Zealots getting on top of those Hydralisks. I'm not sure that there's too many things that Hyun can do right now. He doesn't have the cost effectiveness in his army to deal with the firepower of these Immortals.
Yeah, this is a great timing here. A great push out by StarDust, and he is crushing everything at this point. Hyun, though, we know his macro is incredibly good. He's trying to fight this back. We saw him earlier in a great TVZ against Gumiho, being able to fight back. But right now, he's going up against it. These Immortals are paying to deal with. Good force fields once again.
And this has just been a fantastic composition choice by StarDust, recognizing that Hyun loves going straight for that hive with the Hydras and hitting a timing where he doesn't have the actual units he needs to deal with this setup. And this is just a really great use of understanding what his opponent's been doing. He's forced it off that main base. He's now going to continue onwards towards that third, perhaps, leaving the sentries behind. A very smart decision. He's cut off the army, cut off the reinforcements, and these Zealots, Immortals, and Stalkers are going to be able to take out this third and the fourth.
Wow, look at these sentries saying, you ain't leaving that base anytime soon, mate. I'm just going to keep force fielding wide, destroy everything else you have, and then I'll return to kill this army. Excellent strategy here from StarDust. Look at that.
Yeah, and the Zealots beginning to press in towards that fourth. The Stalkers and Immortals are making their way, and you know he doesn't need the sentries to actually fight. He has such a larger army. Anything that comes out of these hatcheries won't be enough. The drones being pulled as well. They're not going to fare very well versus these Zealots with that +2 attack. And StarDust looking poised to take an early victory here in this best of 3.
Incredible. Once again, this is just great play here by StarDust, and he is going to bring down the third, the fourth, everything. And what we'll see is that fourth going down. I think Hyun may just GG right there, but if he doesn't, StarDust will go to the main base and then look to kill everything anyway.
GG! Yeah, that's a great point, especially since those force fields won't do too much if Ultralisks step onto the field. And we do have him moving his units in position to defend that base. We do have the Vipers here now. He's going for actually setting up his army to go for a complete swallowing of this force. Will he have enough? Force fields locking the army on the right side. He's abducting the Immortals into the heart of these Roaches. The Zerglings hitting in from the left side. The Zealots actually a little bit of blinding cloud action, messing with the AI here. But the Immortals on the right side still alive for StarDust.
Yeah, still alive here, but he's still down 70 supply. 31 more Roaches are coming in. Some good force fields there, picking off the Vipers potentially too, as a couple of them do survive here. These Roaches are going to get brought down, but still, 35 Roaches. Behind this, the economy is insane. There's so much lava available, so much production available. 41 Roaches there we spiked at. Immediately, almost back up to 200 supply.
And now doing a little bit of that cute micros I mentioned with those burrowed Roaches. An observer immediately starts. He realizes the threat that's here. But Hyun's +2 attack about to complete. He is still trying to get a good jockeying for position around this army. More Roaches streaming forward. There's a lot of gateway units, but not as many force fields as there were before. He's going to try to run around them. But StarDust, he's still getting the good force fields. He's making these engagements as cost-effective as humanly possible, given what he has available to him.
And the Immortals trying to get pushed onto the other side of the force fields here. And the number, it's all a numbers game here. 60 more Roaches on the way. Hyun is overpowering his opponent. That aggressive tactic, that aggressive gateway push did not work, and StarDust, unfortunately, is paying the price.
He completely loses his army outside of the area. He's trying to get the third base back up, but now he has nothing to defend it. There's the GG. It's going to be it's a pretty close call. You know, we could see him use the Blinding Cloud to try to at least slow down some of the units while he kills off the Zealots. Manages to pull the Motion Core. There's not going to be any time warps available. He throws down one, not really in the most advantageous position, but it also means if he commits, he is going in, and here he comes. A great arc for Hyun stepping up here. The Zealots are behind the rest of the army. He's going to be able to take out a lot of these units. The Force was actually going to end up helping Hyun to an extent, as all these Hydras can still fight while this attack is going on. He's holding for now, shooting through a lot of these units, but additional force fields coming in. Another warping of Zealots. StarDust supply dropping below 100. Hyun is holding strong for now, but this attack can still do a lot more damage. He still has the most important units in this, but all of the force fields are now gone.
Is this timing going to work? A lot of Zerglings are coming here, but there's so many Zealots here. I think StarDust may still do this despite a great spread, a great max out from Hyun, and this is an incredible push, an incredible timing. Hyun has so much money in the bank, but StarDust, he's on the verge of doing this. He's about to break down the third base. He's got a lot of units pushed towards the natural as well. What a push from StarDust. What a great design build.
And the drones all taking out the third base. He's pulling them from the natural. He's got the Vipers dragging in those Immortals, but what is he going to kill them with? He's using the drones, getting us around. Might be able to pick off one of them, but is he going to be able to stop this push? I don't think so.
Good. 2-1 versus 1-0. He's going to do it. He's breaking through here. Look at, he's killing all the drones. Oh, nice pick up there by the Vipers. The Immortals go to the high ground, and Hydras come out and kill every one of them. There's 112 supply to 78. More and more units are coming in.
And this is just a really difficult spot. Those Vipers, they're pretty cool, but they can't kill anything. And with the Queens and the Hydras trying to hold here, he's still going to lose that third, still going to lose the natural, gets the force fields off, and I don't think he can stop this attack.
This natural's gone down, and Hyun is on one base. StarDust remains with 56 probes versus 24 drones. This is terrible for Hyun. More sentries come in, and it doesn't even matter if they all die here. The economy from StarDust is so good. He's able to keep on powering. A Viper just pulled an oval, and I don't even know what we're seeing at this point. But StarDust is doing an 88 supply to 44 here, Nathanius.
And now he's going to step into that main base, the charge lots, sweeping in, battering away at these Queens and these Roaches. The transfuse goes down. He's got Archons coming in to help support this with that extra damage versus the bio. And Hyun, well, right now I think he's just digesting the situation of this game a little bit. There's not really much he can do. The Roaches won't be able to do too much. Those drones trying to get in with their fisticuffs, but it's not going to be able to stop this next attack. GG from Hyun. StarDust will advance to the round of 4.
Having advanced with a close 2-1 score, StarDust was expected to face the strongest player in the whole tournament, and that would be Life, the rising champion, soon to become the best Zerg player in the world, and later to become the notorious match fixer. But shockingly, it was defeated in a previous round by Show, a Swedish Theron who demonstrated insane microcontrol and splits in those games.
To keep him from getting out of there.
Couple of mines there. Oh, big hit onto the Mutalisks. And more units streaming across here. 30 supply advantage for Show. More Marines are coming down here. These Mutalisks, remember, they're half health because of that mine hit. And Show has broken this base. Oh my god, I can't believe what we're seeing.
Baneling, the Mutalisk getting on top of these Marines. He's pulling the drones as well to try to fight this. He's going to take out the majority of them. A very low drone count now for Life. Killing the Mutalisks by that right side base. Show wins 2-1 over Starfield Life.
Effectively, this meant that StarDust's road to victory should be easier, and he was indeed able to outplay and outwit his opponent with some base trades and risky all-in attacks.
But I don't think he's going to be able to do this here, Nathaniel. StarDust just has too much.
Too much is the best way to put it. He's even adding on another gateway just to maximize his money expenditures. Time warping these SCVs, saying, okay, you want to come pull and try to fight me with your workers? Well, it's going to be even slower than usual. The bunker will complete, but at this point, he can run past this. There's no supply depots to cover this. He's actually losing quite a bit moving in, but at this point, he can afford to lose them. He's continuing to step in. The Marines, not going to be just enough. He's killed off all of the SCVs, and at this point, he's just going to kill it off.
Yeah,
there's
this is StarDust. What a tournament he has had here, Nathaniel. I keep saying that, but he's beaten player after player, beating Violet in the first round, moving on to beating Sean in the next round here in the finals, and now is on the verge of 2-0ing Show. This is an incredible result from the former Brood War Pro, moving over to StarCraft 2, living in Europe, moving and playing. What an incredible performance. Show has nothing left here. He's down at 9 supply, 36 here for StarDust.
Yeah, this Marauder's going to shoot off a couple grenades, trying to make some sort of miracle play, but unfortunately, there's nothing he can do. Time warp on a mule. That's going to be GG.
StarDust goes to the finals.
Now, previously unknown Protoss player finds himself in the finals facing Jaedong, the Tyrant, the greatest alongside Flash Brood War legend. It must be said though, at that point in time, Jaedong wasn't nearly as dominant in StarCraft 2 as he used to be in Brood War, but StarDust was surely an underdog in this battle. Terrified with the idea that he was to play against a living idol, he began the match with his signature risky sentry push.
But as more time goes by, there's more energy on the sentries, more sentries warped, and 5 coming in. He's relying purely on force fields to guarantee him an advantage in these fights.
Here we go. StarDust makes the move, and the force fields need to cut the Zerglings away, prevent them from getting the full surround. Jaedong comes from the south. He's going to come from the east and also the west. A triangular positional attack. Can Jaedong do it? He's seconds away from upgrades. Look how close they are. But he's going to go now. Here he comes.
The spine crawlers were all built to the third to defend that. The force is going to lock a lot of these Zerglings in. He will attempt to cut off the reinforcing pylons, but there is so much here for StarDust. He has a supply advantage. All he needs to do is not dive into this. The 1-1, though, about to complete for Jaedong. This is going to give him a little bit of that upgrade advantage. It's also going to help make that +1 attack for the Zealots not quite so strong anymore, but he's able to keep the reinforcing pylons alive. And Jaedong, he's in a pretty rough spot if StarDust doesn't engage into these spine crawlers.
The problem is, though, for Jaedong, despite having the upgrades, does he have the quantity of units? He may have quality, but he is down by 40 supply. Force fields trapping in the Zerglings. A great move here by StarDust. He's crippled when it comes to his own economy. And any of...
Great force field, pitching off a lot of these Zerglings of Jaedong, and this army just kind of sitting here saying, okay, we're not going to be able to transfer anything. Zerglings for Jaedong at the same time, trying to shut down this third base, but the Zealot Warpins will be enough to hold this off, and he's going to try to push in.
Jaedong is saying, I hope my static defense and reinforcements are good enough, because I'm going to go kill you now, and at least attempt to kill him. He's going to try and bring this third base down. Swarm hosts, the locusts, the enduring locusts for the swarm hosts are on their way, but for now, Jaedong launches a counterattack here. This is gonna, this has to push StarDust through.
And now he's gonna go in, StarDust realizing he needs to commit a little bit once those swarm hosts come out. It's so cost-effective versus gateway units. The Zealots, though, they're trapped behind the sentries and stalkers. They're not getting in that damage they need to actually pick these spine crawlers off. He's advancing, using the Guardian Shield to reduce that range damage. There's so much here for the Protoss player. He is gonna be able to push through these static defenses, moving into the natural. A lot of drones being pulled behind the mineral line. He's trying to save everything he can. The Swarmos are on the way, but will they come in time, Apollo?
Well, the Swarmos are going to come down. StarDust actually has no detection. Great force was there by StarDust, locking the Zerglings away.
And he's going to influence so many of them in. There are the Swarm hosts. They're not quite enough yet to stop this force. He's got his 2-2 upgrades complete. He's beginning to push in a little bit closer towards that main. His natural is secure. The third base was denied, but at this point, if he can get inside this main and do critical damage to the remaining economy of Jaedong.
For the second map, StarDust kept pressuring Jaedong with his trademark aggressive build orders, but his opponent was quick to adapt and react accordingly to these tricks.
So, StarDust in this next fight will have an upgrade advantage.
Look at this strategical decision from Jaedong. Spine crawls on the high ground. They're actually going to attack down into these units, and Jaedong's going to go with them. And he's got a lot of Hydras here.
The Burrow upgrade 2-2 is complete for Jaedong. And with this many spine crawlers, I'm not sure if StarDust is going to be able to push into this base in about a minute or two.
Yeah, StarDust is looking for an opportunity here, and I think it's going to arise. The fight may happen here. Hydra is spitting their damage over the force field, doing so much damage here to this army, and we're seeing StarDust drop down to 130 supply. Jaedong maintains that high-end supply count, maximum being 200 supply. He's always near the maximum here, and with Spine Crawlers finishing up, this is almost impossible. Now we're seeing Vipers coming in. What they're doing is building their energy up from the hive inside the main base. What they're going to aim to do is grab the powerful units, which are the Immortals. He's going to pull them into his army, and he's going to just weaken StarDust's army. Here we go. He's going to grab the Immortals. 1 gets pulled in, 2 gets pulled in, 3 gets pulled in, and now StarDust's army sinking in value.
The most powerful units in StarDust's army are gone. He's going to push in, but there's all this static defense. So many Hydralisks, a great concave for the Zerg player. He's going to overpower this Protoss army, and Jaedong is looking to tie this series up 1-1. Ladies and gentlemen, he is going to win this fight decisively. GG!
On the third map, Jaedong used one of the best tools the Zerg race had, Mutalisks, which forced StarDust to go for a base trade, resulting in the best, most iconic game of 2013, with an incredible ending that shaped these finals.
Defense to hold off that 1-1 base.
What StarDust is basically doing right now, he's saying, okay, my only chance at winning this game is if I can somehow kill off all of your buildings before you completely cripple me, or at least kill off all of mine. The Zerglings and the Mutalisks are going to shut down basically the last vestige hope of StarDust. There are a couple of photon cannons that they do count as anti-air, but there's not enough of them. They're going to be killed off as well. And StarDust, he has actually shut down a lot of this, but all he needs is a single drone to run to the other side of the map, build a, just create an extractor or something like that. But he actually doesn't have any more money.
Oh,
where are Jaedong's buildings?
He's attacking into the spine crawlers here. A bad decision because there's simply only 2 immortals. And Jaedong's going to return, I think. Maybe not. Hold on a minute. He's going to kill this Nexus first, then go. So if he kills this Nexus, there is no way at all to rebuild it. There's no way at all to actually, mine money to make anti-air. There's only those sentries, and he's already lost a couple. Jaedong needs to return. He cannot lose this base himself. Remember, he only has a couple of structures left. Jaedong, Mutalisks, where are they?
Well, they're now finally making their way over, but the Zealots and Immortals might be able to pick off these remaining buildings. Of course, the Broodlings that come out from the destroyed Zerg buildings to try to stop this. What does Jaedong have left?
Oh.
Just these 2 extractors. StarDust could win this game.
StarDust down the south. Probes are going to kill the last
Oh my
extractor.
god! He's gonna get the extractor! He's gonna win this game! The base race may go in favor of our Protoss player! He's got the surround! Oh my god! StarDust wins the game!
Jaedong, however, was able to regain control of the series by using some of Zerg all-ins as well. On the 4th map, he went for a cheesy roach push that allowed him to tie up the score. For the last map, both players chose to play a bit more safe and opted for macro-oriented openings. Despite StarDust playing brilliantly throughout the whole tournament, this was probably one of the few games when his opponent's choice of strategy contributed to StarDust's victory streak. Jaedong decided to use Swarm Hosts on Whirlwind, and while these units in large numbers could become a formidable force, they are slow and are best used in sieges on smaller, more linear maps, and that's not what you can say about Whirlwind. After StarDust recognized the potential threat, he immediately took the initiative and created chaos on Jaedong's part of the map.
And he's at the same time he's gonna snipe this lair. He's not gonna be able to build any more overseers. His detection will be severely limited, and he can actually kill off a lot of these roaches. He can load up, split up his army. At the same time, he's pushing into that 3rd base. He's going for the economy. He's killed off the swarm host. He's gonna be able to shut this down. He's no longer mining long distance in the main. The Zealots get in. The drones are evacuating that 3rd. He's gonna force field off the exit, preventing any reinforcements coming in, as well as the escape of these drones. But for now, the Swarmos may be able to hold this attack off.
Jaedong played this out really well. He was able to defend that very fast inside the main base. He needs an Overseer to detect these units, and if he does, there's the Overseer. Jaedong has so many Hydras. He's got a 40 supply leak despite losing so many hatcheries. Jaedong has an army which may not be stopped here. He's got so many Hydras, he's got decent upgrades. If Jaedong pushes this advantage, having the army supply, he could turn this game around. Look at this. He's moving across the map. DT's, they're slicing it up in the middle of the map there. And he's still got units inside the main base. This is so close to call. Which way is this going to go?
They're slicing and dicing, and the problem is the Overseer is slower than the rest of the units in this army, and especially considering these Warpins doing so much damage. He's saying, Jaedong, if you want to counterattack me, that's fine. I'm going to Warpin so many units, I'll just kill you. I have a stronger economy right now, despite the fact that your standing army is larger. If StarDust can defend this push from Jaedong, he will be the DreamHack Summer 2013 champion. But it is going to take a lot of moxie, a lot of great control, and some perfect force fields to be able to actually hold this off.
DT's trying to get in there to get some free damage done. They are going to run away. Jaedong's going to try to block them, but the Swarm Host is the biggest problem. There are so many Swarm Hosts. I'm not too sure that StarDust has what it takes to stop these guys. They're going to spawn out their locusts. They're going to start to siege these bases that we can already see happening. Meanwhile, we are seeing the siege continue.
And he is going to continue to press forward that natural. StarDust just needs to hold on. He's completely ravaged the economy of his opponent. Keeping the 3rd base would be a bonus for StarDust, but the Locusts are going to get right on top of that. These Zealots shutting down all the production. Everything that Jaedong loses from this point on, he cannot replace. The 3rd Nexus will fall. The Tyrant trying to get into the position necessary to take this base out.
This is really weird because right now StarDust is eliminating a lot of the structures of Jaedong once again here. He's killing a lot. At the end of the day, Jaedong's army is the biggest problem for StarDust. I'm not sure if he can beat it down, but he's destroying all of the economy of Jaedong. He's picking off a lot of the structures. Right now, Jaedong only has a few structures remaining, an Evolution Chamber and 4 extractors. There's one, there's another one coming down, and he has to defend them with his life. They're falling down, another one on the right-hand side. Remember, if he eliminates all the structures, he'll win. He's so close to doing this, there's no Overseer there.
And all of the drones that Jaedong has left are right next to each other. The DT can focus these down. The Overseer will arrive in time. There's so many Zealots, though, he could try to bum rush this, and at the same time, the units that he has in the main base, if he wants to try to push out and try to jump on these, I mean, he doesn't have too much there, but these Swarm hosts are continuing to press in. Once again, we could have this base trade. He's going to fight the army. The Zealots with these upgrade advantage, with the +3 attack, the +2 armor are going to punch in and take out Jaedong's army. There's a single drone trying to get away.
The drone is
It
gone.
gets killed. All he has now, he has the 2 extractors.
Two
Are there any
extractors.
drones left? There's no drones on the map. He kills these and he wins.
Oh, StarDust is gonna do it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
StarDust.
This way, StarDust became the DreamHack 2013 champion, and his victory was a cherry on top of this tournament. This Cinderella story was incredibly meaningful for StarCraft 2 Esports, as it once again showcased how a truly talented and skillful player can overcome any pressure and obstacles to achieve success. Even though he faced multiple ex-champions, StarDust demonstrated the new Protoss meta of how to do Swarm, mixing up all-ins, cheeses, being unpredictable. You really had to try extra hard to surprise your opponent. StarDust, alongside Jaedong, whom we discussed a couple of months ago, was a living example of the state of the balance in those times. On the one hand, many games were infected with swarm hosts, which dragged the games for hours and hours only to end in a boring stalemate. But on the other hand, How to Do Swarm had such nail-biting, epic fights that happened almost every tournament, with new legends rising and new rivalries being born. For the Protoss race, it was particularly an interesting time, because exactly in How to Do Swarm, this race had an immense arsenal of different cheeses, all-ins and many other tactics with absolutely high-risk, high-reward situations. On the downside though, Zerg players were stressing really hard each time they faced a Protoss player. There was no reliable scouting and any sentry push was quite hard to defeat, especially in lower leagues. This contributed to many Reddit discussions where people were debating whether StarDust's victory was partly achievable due to luck in those builds, rather than his quick mind and perfect microcontrol. Nevertheless, StarDust managed to continue his rise to top with many other achievements in premier tournaments. He didn't fade away as Shaq or Jaedong, mostly because he was indeed versatile and capable of performing any type of strategy. This is the reason why he was seen everywhere throughout the next few years, but his first victory was probably the most meaningful, as it once again showed the community and other players that StarCraft 2 competition was getting tougher, more interesting and dynamic than ever, and a lot of other stories would unfold themselves soon. That's it for today. Check out the super similar story of Jaedong, who managed to impress everyone on WCS Europe. Have a nice day and see you next time.